Hello guys, welcome to Major's Garage. This is Suellio. I'm the crew chief for the Formula 1, Formula 3, Formula 3.5, and Dallara IR01. So today we're going to stay my lap here with the Dallara F3 at Sebring. Let's go straight to the first corner. So it's a very fun corner when it goes right. I'm basically starting to turn flat out, but immediately as I turn, I will decrease the throttle, but not completely. What I want here is to just shift a little bit of weight to the front tires so I can actually turn the car very slightly. And then I'm gonna increase that rotation more and more as I see this little cone here. This is gonna be our apex, and then by then I want to already be full throttle. So it's very important that you are full throttle here as soon as you go through this apex, so you can carry as much speed as possible to the exit. So about the entry here, it's very important that you notice the little changes in direction of the wall here on the right wall. So as you can see, I'm going on a straight line parallel to this last little turn here of the wall. That's gonna be the widest point, and then as I get here, I am starting to turn and lift very slightly. So that's my turning reference basically. And this way you can really see how I open up for the corner. And then for the next corner, I'm using the 2 as a reference here, the 2 cones. And you have to brake pretty hard initially, basically full brakes I would say. That's not a lot of brakes anyways, it's around 75% brakes. But then immediately, I'm not waiting a lot before I start turning. I'm braking, but then almost immediately I'm already starting to decrease my brakes very slowly as I turn in and turn in and turn in. And then I really want to be as close as possible to this first curb. You can see that I'm basically aiming for the yellow line here, and I'm getting back on the throttle as soon as I touch the yellow line. Then I'm quite aggressive here, trying to push the car forward as much as I can, and then changing direction using this little curb here. This is a little bit tricky. You can use it, but you can also be quick if you don't use it, because by using it a little bit, the car gets a little bit upset and kind of compensates if you just went here around the curb. But it works. It is possible. It helps me preparing the next left-hander by really staying on the outside here. You can see that I'm basically touching the white line before this last corner, braking very slightly, and trying to get back on the throttle as early as possible here, because there's a long straight after it. So as you can see, we have this very high curb here. We definitely do not want to use it, but we want to be as close as possible to it. I actually did miss it a little bit. Maybe basically touching the white line is a possibility here. It's just a little bit dangerous since you're getting back on the throttle a little bit earlier. And then I want to use just the very end of this high curve here, right before it goes flat. Be careful not to hit this curve too early and too aggressively. It can make the car be upset. Then we're going for the hairpin, preparing very well on the outside here. I'm gonna use the 3 cones as a reference here, and I'm braking pretty hard and pretty quickly too. As you can see, I'm basically as quick as possible on the brakes. Of course, not braking too hard enough to lock up, but the initial speed of application should be very very high. And then downshifting very well the car here, wanting to really cause a lot of engine braking, so to have the car stopping, and then turning the car quite aggressively here. Not aggressively, I would say decisively. You really want to have your maximum rotation here at this inside curb, and you really want to get back on the throttle at the apex, not after. It's very important here that you get back on the throttle at the curb. And you can use a little bit of this grass here. You should not, but you can if you get back on the throttle too early. And then for the next corner, I am braking I am using the 3 as a reference, but I'm basically braking in between the 3 and the 2 here. So as you can see, there are these 2 cones, and I'm starting to brake as soon as I go past the 3 cones, and my maximum pressure is more or less halfway in between the 2 cones. And then I'm braking, as you can see, I'm really staying to the outside. It's very important that you have a very good and open entry for this corner. So I'm really braking and maintaining my car basically as close as possible to the white line. And then maybe you can even use the last cone as a reference for turning in. I do not use turning in references in this track. I'm basically, I mean, not in this corner at least. I am really already looking at the apex. I want to get back on the throttle quite early here, even though there is a little left-hander after that. But this car has enough downforce that you can carry a lot of speed. As you can see, I'm actually touching the curb here. But I do have time to bring the car a little bit to the right, almost nothing, and then already bring it back to the left, basically touching this yellow line here. Without touching this curb, it can upset the car a little bit. But as you can see, I'm bringing my car to the curb, I bring it back to the right, and then back to the left again. Then we want to prepare the next corner. As you can see, I'm quite early getting my car here to the left. I'm not staying to the right, because I really want to, as soon as I start braking, I want to be as parallel as possible to this white line here. As you can see, I'm not perfectly parallel. I'm still pointing slightly to the outside, which is not optimal. I think the optimal line would be if you are really parallel to the white line here before you turn. So then your arc, the amount of rotation you need to generate is a little bit smaller, and then you can carry more speed. So I'm turning in. I want a quite late apex. As you can see, I'm opening up a lot and closing after closing. I'm getting back on the throttle slightly early, and I'm really, I want to be super close to this curb, but I do not want to touch it. This is a very bumpy exit, and this curb definitely does not help. So be careful with this curb, be as close as possible to it, but without touching it. And then as always, carrying a lot of rotation with the throttle after the apex. Then we go to this these S's here. I'm using the 2 cones as a reference. I downshift to 4th, and I'm using a lot this inside curb. Just be careful not to use too much, because the car can bottom out. So as you can see, I'm just using the first part of the curb. I'm not letting the car go over it. Then rotating the car very well with a kind of aggressive throttle here. As you can see, I'm going quickly to 50% because I want to generate a lot of rotation to the right here, so I do not want to use this curb just yet. I want to use it after I change direction. So as you can see, I changed direction right now, and now I'm using that curb. So this was pretty aggressive, maybe a little bit too much, but I got away with it. I want to be, as you can see, I'm over the curb at its end.